It started with a lie, most do. But this one wore a lanyard and called itself a temporary workflow optimization. I was halfway through microwaving leftover pot roast when the all hands kicked off. New director, fresh from some consulting firm with a name that sounded like a password reset question. He had that thin smile, like he was trying not to inhale the same air as the rest of us. Team, he said, pacing like someone who read one too many leadership books, we're entering an exciting phase of lean innovation. That means reimagining responsibilities, empowering individuals to own their zones. Translation, we just fired 2 people and we're going to pretend it's a promotion. And guess who got empowered? That's right, me, Marla. 43, caffeine dependent, and already carrying enough KPIs to qualify as a forklift. Didn't even make eye contact when he told me. Just smiled down at his Surface tablet like it was whispering strategy secrets. You're one of our most dependable assets, Marla. We know we can count on you to own more of the pipeline. Own more, he said, not delegate, not collaborate, just own. Like I'm a storage unit with a pulse. I said sure, because that's what women like me do when cornered between a Zoom call and a layoff. But inside, I started the clock. I opened a fresh Notion page that night. Titled it Welcome to the Gaslight Gala. Subhead, Things I Will Be Blamed for by Q3. First entries, layoffs announced but not acknowledged. My name missing from credit on the Q1 dashboard rollout. Director calling the analytics repo a magic box in front of the CFO. Somewhere around bullet point #9, I added a line in red, automate or die trying. Side note, before we go deeper into this corporate rodeo, if you're part of the 97% who binge these stories without hitting subscribe or tapping that little thumbs up, hey, maybe consider it. We work harder than Marla's cortisol levels trying to keep you entertained. And trust me, your support fuels the chaos. Anyway, week 1 post-layoff, I inherited forecasting, compliance data prep, and stakeholder dashboard duties. Just temporarily, they said, like a cough that ends in your funeral. My ones with the director, canceled, then rescheduled, then canceled again. He sent a Slack, sorry, crazy week. Let's touch base next sprint. Next sprint came and went. I started calling him Schrodinger's manager, neither dead nor alive, just unread. Meanwhile, my inbox mutated into a hydra. Every time I knocked out one task, 3 more appeared with vague subject lines like quick question or small ask, not urgent but actually urgent. I stopped replying. Just built a folder titled No. Didn't matter, they never read what I sent anyway. By Friday, I wrote my first automation script. Just a little Python gremlin that validated some Excel files I used to check manually. It saved me 45 minutes and one minor urge to scream into a decorative pillow. It felt good, so I wrote another and another. Nothing too big, not yet. Just bite-sized chunks of sanity stitched together with coffee and spite. I didn't tell anyone, not even Jenna from Product, who once mailed me CBD tea after I cried during a roadmap planning meeting. I wasn't being sneaky, I was being safe, because when this place breaks, they don't fix it. They just pin it to whoever's closest to the smoke. And I was always closest to the smoke. By week 3, I noticed the calendar events. Team Agility Showcase, Change Acceleration Circle. My name was never mentioned, but the dashboards I built were on every slide. And the director, smiling like a damn Cheshire cat with a promotion in his teeth. He talked about reimagining workflows, about bottom-up innovation. Funny, the only thing bottom-up about it was the way I had to hold my whiskey every night just to sleep. But I didn't rage, didn't confront. I just opened a new folder, named it. Marla Bot 1.0 inside it. One line of code, just one. But it was the beginning of the end. The week after the optimization settled in like spoiled leftovers in the office fridge, I found myself waking up at 5:30 a.m. just to cry before logging on. You ever sob into a half-toasted Pop-Tart while Outlook pings like it's taunting you? That was my Monday, and Tuesday, and the next 6 goddamn weeks. Forecasting landed first. Could you just take over the projections while we backfill Hannah's role? Hannah, bless her snarky soul, got transitioned the same day our Slack channels went mysteriously quiet, and IT locked her badge mid-lunch. I didn't ask questions. I just pulled up the legacy forecasting templates, slapped a sticky note on my monitor that read "Do not scream," and got to work. 3 days later, hey Marla, I need you to manage the compliance data prep too, just until we hire someone for that. That someone was me, again. Then came the cherry on top. Can you make sure the stakeholder dashboards stay up to date? Code for make it pretty, make it fast, and make sure it doesn't break when the CFO opens it on his iPad while golfing. I said of course so many times I started hearing it in my sleep, like a haunted Roomba. Still no title change. No pay bump, not even a lunch voucher. Just appreciation, typed in lowercase on Slack, followed by a pizza emoji. Meanwhile, my one-ones with the director turned into a digital ghost hunt. Week 2 had to bump back-to-back calls with VPs. Rain check, week 4. Let's circle back next month when things settle. Week 6, silence. I could have set myself on fire during an all-hands, and he'd probably ask if it was part of the new Agile framework. So I built my own therapy, started small. Script #1, automatically pull raw sales data, clean it, and flag duplicates. Script #2, check for out-of-bounds compliance flags and email a summary to my burner Gmail. Script hash 3, rename files with timestamped file names so the interns would stop saving things as final v8 final PDF. They were dumb little gremlins, but they obeyed, unlike management. I stored everything locally. No GitHub, no shared repo, just me and a folder named Sanity Keepers. Each file had a subtitle, like because screw you, that's why, or built during hour 47 without caffeine. They started stacking up. The more I coded, the less I spoke. Team meetings turned into background noise. People asked questions, I gave vague thumbs ups. They'd thank me for keeping it together. I wanted to tell them I was digitally unraveling, line by Pythonic line. But what was the point? They didn't want a person. They wanted a productivity specter. Somewhere in week 7, I caught the product manager, Kyle, of course, bragging about his new forecasting system. The same one I'd built, scrubbed, tested, and quietly deployed at 3 a.m. the previous Sunday. I didn't confront him, didn't send the receipts. I just opened Sanity Keepers and created a subfolder, Plagiarism Princes, dropped a clean copy of the system in there with a README file titled Kyle's Greatest Hits, now with 0 actual work. By week 9, I wasn't angry. I was numb in that perfect spreadsheet way, orderly, color-coded rage. And with every new task that landed in my lap like a pigeon turd on a white blouse, I smiled just a little wider. Because now, I wasn't just working. I was building a cathedral of vengeance. And the foundation was already humming. You know that feeling when someone steals your lunch from the office fridge, eats it in front of you, and then compliments themselves for making such a good sandwich? That was week 10. It started during the weekly leadership momentum sync, which is just corporate speak for a 45-minute self-congratulatory PowerPoint parade. I kept it muted while reviewing my 1,700-line dashboard script, but my ears perked up when I heard the words incredible team agility. Oh good, I thought. They're finally acknowledging how I single-handedly rebuilt the reporting infrastructure during an overnight data outage last week. Nope. Big shout out to Kyle and Brianna for leading the pivot to asynchronous dashboard refreshes. Kyle, the same walking LinkedIn post who once asked me if SQL was still a thing. And Brianna, sweet girl, still thinks Excel macros are dark magic. I kept a straight face, even when the applause emoji flooded the Slack channel, even when the director replied clapping, 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 innovation in motion, clapping, clapping, clapping. I didn't even blink. I just opened a new tab, created a private Slack channel, called it #NobodyListens topic for documenting the slow erosion of my soul. Entry #1, Kyle praised for async dashboards. Actual developer, me. Evidence, report gen 3.2. Pi, get timestamp, server push log. Entry #2 came 2 days later when I caught Jeremy from Ops reposting my code snippet in #dev experiments like he was Marie Curie with a Jupyter notebook. I stared at his message for a full minute. Line for line, it was mine, down to the same comment I'd left in haste. This is dumb, but it works, and I hate it he didn't even change it. The thread lit up. Nice, smart move, Jeremy. Can we expand this for global? Jeremy replied, working on a full build-out. Just whipped up a quick proof of concept today. I bookmarked the thread, dragged the screenshots into #NobodyListens, labeled them, theft in broad daylight, exhibit a no one messaged me. No one at mentioned me, and I didn't volunteer. I'd stopped correcting people around the time my own director confused me with the intern on a Zoom call. We'd both had brown hair. That was enough. But I didn't rage, I didn't cry. I just added a new script to my Sanity Keepers folder. This one tracks Slack keyword mentions of agile, ownership, and innovation. Every time someone said the word leadership and it wasn't about me, it logged it. You know what showed up the most? Thanks for stepping up, Jeremy, Brianna, great initiative. And from the director, love seeing others run with Marla's systems. Run with, not build, not create, not even collaborate on. Just run with, like I left a fully baked cake on the kitchen counter and watched toddlers smear icing on their faces and call themselves chefs. So I gave up trying to be visible. Instead, I leaned into the invisibility, made it my weapon. I updated all my scripts to send error alerts to a buried subfolder in the shared drive, then obfuscated the function names. What once was generate report became grrx39floop06. If they wanted to use my work without me, they could try to decode it first. My Slack avatar? Changed it to a gray rock, literally. A photo of a rock, my status, fog, Marla is, somewhere. I stopped attending half the meetings. Nobody noticed, but every time someone stole a line of code, an idea, or even a joke I made in a private DM, I logged it. Not because I needed credit, not anymore, because I was building something. The war wasn't loud. There were no screaming matches, just terminal windows, private channels, and one very tired woman documenting every slap to the face like she was preparing a digital autopsy. I had no allies, no mentors, no backup, but I had code, I had receipts, and soon I'd have escaped velocity. By week 12, I had 36 scripts duct taped together like a hoarder's tech drawer, working, but barely holding. Every morning started with some Slack ping about a minor issue, which, translated from director speak, meant the thing you built and we don't understand has stopped doing the thing we expect and we won't read your instructions. That's when it hit me. They didn't want systems, they wanted magic. They didn't want engineers, they wanted machines, so I gave them one. I opened a new folder, called it Marla Core. Inside, I started stitching, bit by bit, line by cursed line. Every automation, every script I'd written to save my sanity, avoid collapse, or cover up leadership's latest oversight got rebuilt into one modular shell. Expandable, clean, labeled like a bomb technician might label wires. Red, report generation. Blue, compliance autofillers. Yellow, data pipeline validators. Black, kill switches. The whole thing ran on triggers, not time-based, not user-prompted. Presence-based, that's right. I built it to run only when my Slack status was active and my machine recognized my login. No Marla, no magic. You want the pipeline to update? Better hope I'm online. Need dashboards to refresh? Better hope I haven't taken a lunch break. Craving real-time alerts? Then maybe don't fire the only person keeping the engine running. I didn't document it, didn't store it in Git, didn't back it up to the team drive. You see, I wasn't building a product. I was building a test. A test to answer one very specific question. If I vanish, what happens next? No one knew, not IT, not DevOps, not even Maya, the only person in that office I'd ever shared a decent sandwich with. She once cried when they denied her PTO for her dad's surgery. I almost told her, but I didn't because this wasn't about loyalty anymore. This was about proof. They wanted me invisible. They wanted ownership without ego. Team players who deliver quietly, culture fits. So I vanished. Still working, still delivering, but in silence. In meetings, I turned my camera off. My microphone broke mysteriously. I started responding with nothing but thumbs up emojis and vague sounds good replies. They seemed pleased. I was adapting to the lean mindset, modeling autonomy. One day, the director even messaged me, "Appreciate your quiet leadership, Marla. You're making yourself obsolete." In the best way, I laughed so hard I scared my cat. Then I added another trigger to Marla Core. If my Slack status is inactive for more than 48 hours, shut down everything in staggered bursts like a digital funeral march. First, internal reports. Then, dashboard refreshes. Then, data pipeline syncs. Last, compliance audit auto-generator. Each had its own little timer. Each delayed just long enough for someone to think it was a bug and realize it wasn't. That's when they'd scramble. That's when the director would hear the words he never wanted to hear from the CTO. "We don't know how anything works." I didn't want revenge. I wanted silence to mean something, because they spent months treating my quiet like a green light, mistaking calm for compliance, treating "she's got it" like a compliment instead of a cry for help. So I built the seed, and all it needed to bloom was absence. I scheduled the big cross-functional strategy sync on a Wednesday morning, which meant two things. I hadn't slept. They expected me to pretend the caffeine in my thermos was hope instead of raw survival juice. It was the kind of meeting where they used phrases like North Star metrics and ecosystem leverage, while 80% of the org tried to look awake with Slack open on a second monitor. But this one, they said was special. "We're aligning on Q4 delivery vision." The director typed with too many exclamation marks. Translation: I'm about to take credit for work I can't spell. He'd been working on a special presentation for weeks. I knew this because he kept asking me for screenshots, query samples, and dashboard demo videos at 10 p.m., always with the same cheerful message. "Hey Rockstar, just need this one thing real quick." Could wallpaper the Pentagon with how many real quicks that man handed out. Anyway, the meeting starts. My camera is off, my mic is off. I've got my terminal open in the background, just in case someone says something so profoundly stupid that I need to channel my rage into Python. And then he shares his screen. Slide 1, accelerating insight velocity. Slide 2, owning our data narrative. Slide 3, my dashboard interface. Pixel for pixel. Same custom tooltip logic. Same conditional formatting. He even left in the typo I'd made 3 weeks ago, revenue instead of revenue. And there he is, walking the exec team through my system like he built it in a dream. Like the cloud opened one day and whispered it to him while he was sipping kombucha on a Peloton. "I wanted to empower teams through streamlined automation," he says, tapping his trackpad like a weatherman pointing at a forecast. "So I sketched this out over the break." Sketched it? Buddy, you couldn't sketch your own name without 2 interns and a YouTube tutorial. CFO nods, COO smirks. The VP of marketing says this kind of agile thinking is what's going to define our future. I sip my coffee. It's cold now, and somehow that makes it worse. Like my rage has steeped into it, slow and bitter. They praise his innovation, his lean foresight. I refresh Slack and watch 3 different C-levels DM him. "Love this direction. Let's set up time. You're really driving change here. Need your input on a similar vision deck." He replies with the emoji of a rocket ship. A rocket ship. That's when I alt-tabbed into Marla Core. Opened the seed code. Scrolled to line 839. The heartbeat line, the one that checks for my login and Slack activity. I added one thing, #initiate countdown if Marla declares endgame, then this, if resignation mode equals true. Trigger exit protocol days equals 60. I saved it, pushed it, closed the tab, then I opened my notes app and typed just 5 words, exit clock, T-60 days, because I'd seen enough. There would be no Slack fight, no HR complaint, no public dragging. I would not waste my final days trying to teach grown men how to spell compliance. I was going to leave them exactly what they deserved. A castle made of code, balanced on a single name they didn't even care to pronounce correctly. And when that name vanished, so would their miracle machine. He thought he could wear my work like a jacket. He forgot jackets don't run the servers. They called it the delegated support model, which is corporate gloss for dump the engine parts into the break room and let the interns figure it out. HR rolled it out with a cheery email titled Empowering Cross-Team Resilience. There were fireworks emojis. I wish I were kidding. In one swift paragraph, it declared that all Marla-led systems were now team-owned. No, not maintained, not managed. Owned. Like my decade of work was an old IKEA futon they found on the curb and decided to call theirs. I read it 3 times while sipping lukewarm instant coffee I'd made with hot sink water, because the kitchen Keurig was broken again, and nobody had fixed it because, surprise, that was also apparently my job now. The director pinged me on Slack an hour later. Hey, can you whip up some light docs for the team? Just something simple, bullet points, maybe a loom? Simple. Like summarizing 12 years of accumulated backend logic, compliance filters, cron jobs, API failovers, and adaptive load balancing scripts into a freaking bullet list. I stared at the message so long the screen went dark. Then I opened Notepad and typed the first line of what would become the most passive-aggressive masterpiece in Office history: How to Hold a Ghost. A user manual for the systems you stole. I didn't write it in Markdown. I didn't format it with headers. I wrote it like I was whispering to a future survivor digging through the ruins. It had sections like, if the dashboard breaks, it's because it misses me, how to validate data without a soul, the compliance loop, and other myths. I embedded jokes that looked like instructions. Step 3. If the compliance report fails to send by 9 a.m., gently place your forehead on the keyboard and whisper, Marla, forgive me. I added footnotes referencing non-existent files. See Appendix D, what you could have had if you just said thank you. I ended the doc with a limerick. There once was a script in despair that lived on a server somewhere. It danced through the night, then turned off the light and vanished into recycled air. I PDF'd it, named it Marla Documentation Final, trust me this one PDF. Uploaded it to the team's SharePoint. Didn't say a word. Started asking questions almost immediately. Hey Marla, what's the GRRX39F loop 06? Function actually do? It loops. Hey, this script is flagging everything from Friday as corrupted. Is that a bug? It's Friday. Maybe it knows something we don't. Marla, is it true the data pipeline only runs if you're logged into Slack? That sounds like a security feature. Each time I smiled while typing. Because here's the truth, I'd already left. Not physically yet, but spiritually, emotionally, psychically. I was sipping margaritas in the next dimension. They'd taken everything except my silence, so I weaponized that too. And every time they opened that doc looking for salvation, they'd find poems and riddles and quiet spite hidden in punchlines. Because if you make the invisible woman explain herself after you've erased her name, you'd better hope she leaves breadcrumbs and not landmines. Thursday night, I unplugged everything. Not the servers, not the dashboards, me, the real mainframe. I closed every Slack thread, ignored every last-minute quick ask, and turned on Do Not Disturb like it was a bulletproof vest. Then I set one final calendar invite for myself. Freedom launch T-minus 11 hours. By 11:43 p.m., my resignation email was scheduled and locked. Subject line, transition notice effective immediately. Body, dear team. It's been a journey. I wish you all the best in navigating what comes next. Best, Marla. No rant, no fireworks, just silence delivered with surgical precision. I stared at the scheduled send, 10:15 a.m. Friday, just as the weekly pipeline sync was supposed to finish. Just before leadership's Friday forecasts call. Just after I'd be unreachable. Poetry. At 4:30 a.m., I zipped up a copy of my personal portfolio, scripts, templates, a folder of screenshots titled When They Lied, and one heavily encrypted readme that began, if you're opening this, it means I've already left. Good luck finding the glue. By 6 a.m., I'd showered, packed, and left my apartment key with the neighbor who once held my mail during Q4 Hell Week. She gave me a look like she knew. Didn't say a word, just nodded. By 8:12 a.m., I was through TSA with a suitcase, a passport, my middle finger permanently extended in spirit. Flight to Cholum, nonstop, no Wi-Fi, no Slack, no can you just? At 10:14 a.m., I opened my phone one last time at the gate, refreshed Slack, typed a single status update, palm tree uo indefinitely. Then I turned the phone off, fully off. At 10:15 a.m., somewhere back in HQ, the resignation hit inboxes like a wet slap. At 10:17 a.m., the dashboard rendering job failed. Not a warning, not a delay. Failed. The error log read. Report Gen 3.2 status. Function undefined, line 839, heartbeat not detected, core process halted. Error 504, Slack presence not found. 10 seconds later, the compliance audit job threw a fatal exception. 17 seconds after that, the weekly revenue sync queued 10 million duplicate entries and triggered the fail-safe validator. 5 more seconds, the forecasting model froze with a dependency error. GRRX39F loop 06. failed, ghost not found, like dominoes, not violently, just inevitably. Back on the plane, I sipped the free ginger ale like it was champagne. Seatbelt snug, tray table down, heart rate finally back to human. No pings, no red dots, no emergencies routed to me. Just white noise and altitude. I watched the clouds, and for the first time in a year, I breathed. The panic hit faster than I expected. They always said our systems were resilient, redundant, battle-tested. Turns out they were just riding shotgun on my back while calling it a bus. By 10:32 a.m., the Slack channel #clientops looked like a war zone. Messages flooded in like a biblical plague. Where's the weekly deliverable for Alpha Corp? Revenue delta showing minus 92%. That can't be right, right? Has anyone heard from Marla, who has access to the pipeline server? The real fun started when compliance pinged legal with a forward horror story. Audit script isn't running. By 11 o'clock a.m., client success managers were on Zooms with frozen smiles and dead eyes, trying to explain why all the pretty dashboards had turned into digital trash fires. Numbers missing, filters broken, pages not loading. One VP asked, "Can we just reboot the system?" The response, "We did, it made it worse." Meanwhile, the director, oh my sweet director, was pacing in what I assume was his office, judging by the muffled screams captured on a background audio leak someone accidentally recorded and shared to our private memes group before I left. He tried Slack. He tried email, then he called direct on my cell. I watched it ring. Once, twice. Then I answered. "Hi," I said, sipping mezcal out of a hollowed-out pineapple like a villain in a beach noir. There was silence on the line, then the kind of breath you only hear from a man whose entire reality has turned into a smoking crater. "Marla," he said, soft, almost reverent, like he was talking to a deity he'd once mocked and was now trying to bargain with. We need you to fix this." I took another sip. Let the mezcal burn like holy fire across my tongue. Overhead, mariachi bands started warming up by the pool. Someone was laughing 2 tables over. A dog barked in the distance. All more important than what came next. "Fix what?" I asked, voice like silk-wrapped nails. "Everything," he said, "the clients, the reports, the forecasting model. It's all Marla, it's all down. No one knows how it works. No one can find the documentation. Some of your code is poetic, poetic." That word nearly made me spit out my drink. "You mean the doc titled How to Hold a Ghost didn't help?" He didn't answer. "Listen," I said, adjusting my sunglasses. "I warned you, you just never heard me, or maybe you did and decided to forward it to Jeremy instead." A pause. Then with a voice so low it could have been mistaken for prayer, "Please." That's when I smiled, because it was done. The smirk, the silence, the storm, it had all been leading here, to this moment. To him, whispering please. On my toes sank into imported sand, and his kingdom collapsed under the weight of its own arrogance. "I'll think about it," I said, swirling the mezcal slowly. Click. Call ended. And for the first time since they handed me more ownership, they finally knew who owned what. The director called again that night. No more frantic texts, no more fake-friendly Slack DMs with rocket ship emojis and exclamation points. Just one number lighting up my burner phone from an unknown area code I recognized like an old scar. I let it ring. Once, twice. Then I picked up. He didn't start with hi, didn't ask how I was or pretend he cared. He just exhaled into the silence and said it, barely audible, like the words themselves were too heavy to carry in daylight. "What did you automate?" No rage, no blame, just that, "What did you automate?" I didn't answer right away, just smiled, watching the sun slide down behind the jungle canopy in Chalum like it was clocking out too. Then, with all the warmth of a frostbitten handshake, I said, "Everything. Except you?" Click, no goodbye, no apology. Just that last little string cut, the final domino tapped. And back in the office, the lights were still on, but the engine was dead. The Friday board meeting began at exactly 9 o'clock a.m. Eastern. C-levels logged in with their coffee and confusion, waiting for the Q4 forecast presentation, waiting for the dashboards, waiting for the weekly insights that always magically appeared. What they got instead was silence. The SharePoint link returned to 403. The dashboard URL timed out. The quarterly report folder was empty, not deleted, just never generated. No charts, no tables, just digital tumbleweeds. The CFO blinked hard and muttered, "Is the data still syncing?" "No," said the CTO, voice flat. "It's not syncing. There's nothing to sync." The director opened Slack, fingers trembling like a man disarming a bomb. One notification lit the screen. "User Marla Bot is offline. Would you like to reboot her?" Silence. Then the CEO, confused, "Who the hell is Marla Bot?" No one answered. Not Kyle. Not Brianna. Not Jeremy, the innovator currently hiding behind a water cooler. Because the truth settled over the room like ash. None of them knew how any of it worked. Marla Bot wasn't a tool. It wasn't a script. It was everything, and now it was gone. They had inherited a house made of matchsticks held together with one name they never bothered to remember. And now, there were no flames, no shouting, no grand finale. Just a room full of executives staring into a glowing void, realizing too late that the ghost they ignored had been the one holding the flashlight. Back in Mexico, I was already 2 drinks deep into breakfast, legs crossed in a hammock, listening to waves and watching my inbox pile up like unpaid debts. One last Slack ping came through on my burner laptop before I shut it for good. From Maya. Just one line they finally noticed. I typed back too late, closed the laptop, closed the story. Because silence wasn't just my protest, it was my plan. And now they were drowning in it. You're the real MVPs of the office jungle. Thanks for watching. Smash that subscribe button, or the coffee pot might just forget your next brew.